I loved Sarah.
Back here.
I still do, but not the same as I did then. We go for drinks a few times a year. She's wonderful. It's easy to see why we dated. The breakup was hard for me, but worse for Sarah. Would it have been easier for her if Harry was a woman instead? Actually, knowing Sarah, probably not. It wasn't about that.
Okay, what do I do now? Aha.
The pain she went through. I don't want to do that to anyone ever again. Especially not Harry. These stupid, mundane things. I'm stuck here. I'm going to piss him off eventually. It's fine to say that was the past, but I still look at others. I'm human.
I don't know why that was enjoyable to me, but that noise was just like spot on. What is it? Oh, hair gel. Doesn't look like you really need any gel though. Well, then again, his hair is just kind of floofy anyway. Oh man, I don't really... God damn it.
I'm only going to fuck it up. Again.
No. Don't say that.
He'd be an idiot to marry me.
No, he wouldn't. You seem like a really good guy.
T.
Stop it.
Tea solves everything, if you believe my grandma.
Well, it depends on how you use it. If you just sit alone and just drink it and just allow it to help your thoughts,
Sarah's
yes,
fine
it would solve quite a lot.
Now. But we were young. She had time to move on. Maybe I should leave Harry before it's too late for him. Grandma would have told me to man up.
No. Listen to your grandma.
Of course, as Will's grandmother, I knew him since he was born. I visited him in hospital on that first day. I still remember the day that James, that's Will's father, handed my grandson to me. He was such a handsome boy from that first moment. Back in the 1980s, James was running 3 pubs in London. He was quite into that punk thing and looked a terrible state to me. I would babysit Will as often as I could to make sure he had someone normal in his life. Sharon was an art teacher.
Sounds like grandma to me.
She always had her nose in a magazine full of pictures. It's not the way to inspire a young man to a career, if you ask me. It's good for a young boy to be outdoors, but Will never really liked that when he was young. Will had to play by himself.
Sounds like me.
Sharon had complications at the birth, so he was never going to have brothers or sisters. James and Sharon would always be putting on some awful music, if you could call it that. Not my cup of tea at all. I turned it off first thing whenever I was babysitting. Sharon, Will's mother, broke up with James for 3 years at one point and took Will away to America, where she comes from. They had met through James's work. No wonder, really. James had horror books in the house, and I'm so glad they were kept on a high shelf away from Will. Terrible things. I just don't understand what pleasure there is in that kind of story. I suppose I sound old-fashioned, but there are appropriate ways to raise a child. I only wanted Will to grow up happy and normal.
Yeah, happy and normal. Sure, everybody wants to be happy, but not everyone wants to be normal. And I'm not saying this to, like bear down on her, but, like, I don't want to be
remember that
normal
evening.
at all. I'm glad that my
Will had
mom
been
raised me
quieter
to
than
not be
usual.
normal. Is there going to be a conversation?
He told me that he'd been in
Ah.
a fight. Another boy had been calling a girl names because she had dark skin. Will told the boy to stop,
Ah.
and he was punched in the stomach. I asked him if he had cried, and he said yes. I told him that big boys don't cry.
I remember,
I
this
remember
game.
him asking me then, what do big boys do when they're sad? I told him that when he grew up, he would be a good man, able to stand up for others. I suppose I didn't answer his question. Even though he was hurt, I told him he was right to try to stop the bully.
A long time since I've messed around with this.
Now I think about this, he didn't seem much happier. What should I have said?
I don't know, that's a difficult one.
Will tripped on a toy when he was going to bed. I remember carrying him. He was trying so hard not to cry. He was so small in my arms. I've never forgotten that feeling. It's most odd what sticks with you. A whole patchwork of memories making up our lives. I took him to bed to read him a story.
Oh, I get this now. One thing about the game is that you play as a bunch of different characters. You play as Will, you play as, I think her name was Sue, I forget, his ex-girlfriend. You play as his grandma. You play
Sharon
as,
kept
I
on
want to say,
buying
his
him books
sister or
of
something
ghost
like that.
stories. He always wanted me to read him those, but he never slept properly after, I think.
And so I think that this is just kind of giving you a backstory as
He
to
would never settle
Will's
properly
relationship to each
until
of those
I had
people.
checked the room for ghosts. I always look carefully to reassure him.
Yes, because there's gonna be anything in that little tiny crack.
I remember that night because I promised him then that I would always be there for him, to protect him, regardless of anything. He probably thought I meant about ghosts, but I meant it for everything. It's not the kind of promise you forget. I was reading Grimm's fairy tales to him. I like those much more than the new versions that they kept on coming out with back then. There was a short, very strange story that night called The Ungrateful Son. I'll tell it to you. It's only short.
Well, that sounds kind of dark.
Once upon a time, a man and his wife were eating a roast chicken for dinner. When the man saw his father, a very old man,
Well, that's
walking
cool.
along the road towards them, the man didn't want to share his chicken, so he hid it out of sight. His father came, bid them a good day, and went on his way. The man was very happy, so told his wife to put the chicken
I
on the
like
table.
this. This is really cool.
But the chicken had transformed into a giant toad, which leapt onto the face of the man. The toad would never leave, and when his wife wanted to help, she was so afraid of it that she dared not go near. The man had to feed the toad every day from then on, or it would bite his face, and he never rested for the remainder of his life.
So I don't I understand that the story is meant for good, but it
Like I
seems
said, it was a
like
very
it's
strange
doing
story.
good in the wrong way. That's true.
Will was asleep before I finished it.
Anyhow,
Which was probably a good thing.
yeah. Right, did it go yellow over here? No. What am I looking at? Well, oh, the light. There. And this light. And this light. Nope.
I felt strange
The
after
door.
reading
No,
it.
this light.
I wondered about whether I really could keep him safe. The world is so unpredictable. I would do my best like all
You can never
good
keep everybody
grandmothers.
safe from everything. Yeah. And that's all you can do.
I could still see him sleeping there now, like it was only yesterday. I had raised James, so I thought I would be ready for anything from my grandson Will. But I wasn't daft enough to think that it would be easy. The world changes so fast. I remember the family visiting me when Will was a teenager. Do you know Al Martino's Here in My Heart? He had such
Gotta
a
have
lovely
music.
voice. It was playing when Robert first kissed me. Robert would hum it to me sometimes. We've family over in New Zealand. I went to visit them after James had grown up. We still write letters to each other, at Christmas, you know. It's important to stay in touch with your family, even when we're so spread out. I like to go down to Brighton, to the seaside, and I would buy a new glass animal every time I went there, collecting them. Everyone should have a hobby, I think. My husband Robert was a writer, like Will. I think they would have loved talking. Maybe Will's interest would have inspired Robert to push a bit harder in his work. It was only a matter of time back then before Diana divorced Charles. She'd done that interview, and we all knew it was coming. People seem to believe that all us old folk want to talk about is the weather, so I started the conversation.
That's
think
funny.
It's sad.
Give me a
She
minute.
was bullied into all of this from the beginning.
The conversation didn't go well from there. I got very frustrated with him. Sharon didn't join in, but it wasn't hard to imagine what an American might think of it all. James took Will's side on it all. It always would be difficult in those kinds of things. I wish I'd never even started the conversation. They didn't want to hear my opinion. "Excuse me, I'm going to make some tea," I said. No one offered to help.
Poor Grandma doesn't get enough love.
Was it childish? I don't think any of us wanted tea, but I didn't want to talk to them anymore. I suppose all this seems like a strange
Fair
thing to
enough,
remember,
I think.
but it was a sad day for me. These days it's easier to be different, to forge your own path or something
Poor
like
Granny.
that, and everyone else be damned. I didn't have any choice in my time, but I had a quiet life.
That's kind of true.
It was good enough. It's not good to stick out like a sore thumb. You have to fit in.
Not
James and
anymore.
Sharon both held their own views. I knew that. But Will... I was worried about him, getting all
What
these
about Will?
views. It could get him into trouble. I was so scared that Will was going to go off half-cocked and make a mess of his life. I stood there, waiting for the tea to brew. And I found myself crying, standing in the kitchen like a silly old what's-it. He was going to go off with views like that and get in trouble, and I couldn't do a thing. I knew something had been broken that day between Will and I.
That's so sad.
I took a
though.
deep
Like,
breath
stop.
and pulled
I guess I
myself
got
together.
this game to be sad.
It's not the done thing to let others see you get upset.
Alright, well, I think I'm going to go ahead and end off this big ol' recording session here. Thank you guys for watching. I really, really hope that you've all enjoyed. I sense that this game is going to have really big emotional impact, and I'm excited for it. I can tell that this game was just it was really well thought out, really well put together. And one of the things I love about it is that it's not even so much a game, it's just a story. And it's a story where you go around and kind of unfold the events of this man's life. And just kind of figure out what happened. And I love it. I really, really love it. So again, thank you guys for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed. Leave a comment down below letting me know what you think of the game so far. and then leave a like if you're enjoying the series. And until next time, we'll see you in the next video. And as always, errors unite.